On va ouvrir la réunion plénière. Il est 8 heures. Adoption de l'ordre du jour. Monsieur Simard.
Adopter l'ordre du jour tel que présenté.
Secondaire. Monsieur Levert, c'est correct?
Oui, c'est parfait.
1, 2, 3, qu'on est le quorum. Tout le monde en faveur? Déclaration d'intérêt pécuniaire? Aucune. Délégation, présentation? Aucune. Pétition, correspondance? Aucune. Avis de motion? Aucune. Période de questions-commentaires. S'il y a des membres dans la salle qui veulent faire un commentaire, poser une question, vous avez 3 minutes. Pas de période de questions. C'est beau. Rapport des comtés unis de Prescott-Russell. Monsieur le maire est parti, alors on va attendre à la prochaine réunion. Rapport des comités. 9.1, comité de dérogation. Monsieur Bouchard.
Que le comité plénière recommande que le Conseil confirme que le règlement numéro 2011-33 tel qu'adopté doit demeurer en vigueur et que les membres du comité de dérogation soient rémunérés tel que prescrit. Option 2. Ouais, alors, est-ce qu'il faut choisir une option?
C'est l'option que vous voulez. Donc, vous devez faire la lecture de l'option que vous désirez entendre.
OK. Donc, on peut arrêter là pour la lecture.
Vous pouvez arrêter là pour la lecture si vous voulez. Vous pouvez le changer par après.
Est-ce que c'est correct si on arrête là avant de décider de l'option?
Oui.
OK. Alors, un secondaire, s'il vous plaît. Monsieur Levert. Questions, commentaires? Monsieur Lalonde.
Pour peut-être simplifier les choses, on pourrait juste revenir à ce qu'on avait avant, puis regarder la rémunération qui était en vigueur, puis juste continuer de l'appliquer, puis pas changer, entre mots, l'option 1, I guess.
Est-ce que les montants étaient...
C'était à 100$ pour le chair, puis 75$ pour les membres.
Puis ce qui est proposé avec l'option 2, c'est quoi?
C'est de changer les montants à quelque chose qu'on voudrait.
OK.
Puis en regardant, on avait demandé à la dernière réunion d'avoir des comparatifs avec les autres municipalités environnantes, puis...
On sera encore dedans.
Ouais. Fait que ça serait ma recommandation.
OK. Option 1 pour... Oui, Mme Choignard?
Il y a plusieurs municipalités, c'est beaucoup moins, là, qui payent beaucoup moins, mais...
Mais ils n'ont pas notre grosseur.
pas grosseur, mais c'est comme... On paye ce que Ottawa paye. Alors, on n'est quand même pas la grosseur d'Ottawa, là, non plus.
Qu'est-ce que vous proposez?
Alors, je sais qu'on a l'obligation de payer, mais en autant qu'on donne quelque chose. Alors, c'est les membres du Conseil qui doivent décider combien on donne.
Ça serait quoi votre proposition?
Mais là c'est que c'est un montant pour la soirée, puis aussi les frais pour les frais de transport. Alors...
Bien là, vous dites que...
Bien là, c'est pas moi qui fais la solution, là.
Bien, si vous dites que vous voudriez plus bas, moi c'est proposé en ce moment ce qu'on est là.
Je fais seulement dire que les coûts actuels, c'est comparable à ce qui est payé à Ottawa.
Okay.
Et non ce qui est payé dans les municipalités autour d'ici.
Mais il y en a quand même 2 municipalités dans notre environnement qui sont plus haut que nous autres.
Ouais.
So,
puis
Russell.
Okay. D'autres points, d'autres commentaires? Alors, M. Lalonde, vous proposez l'option 1.
Oui.
Est-ce qu'on pourrait avoir un secondaire pour l'option 1? M. Simard, on va passer au vote. Tous ceux qui sont en faveur de l'option 1. 1. Gardez vos mains levées, s'il vous plaît. OK, 1, 2, 3. C'est beau. Merci. C'est passé. 9.2, M. Cardarelli, s'il vous plaît.
Attendu que tous les contrats nécessaires ont récemment été octroyés pour le projet de remplacement de ponceau sur le chemin Landry, incluant une contingence de 10%, a été sécurisé et attendu qu'un surplus approximativement 90 000 est anticipé, que le comité plénier recommande au Conseil d'autoriser que le budget pour le projet de remplacement de ponceau sur le chemin Landry soit diminué de 373 500 à 318 500 et que la différence, soit le montant de 55 000, soit réaffecté au programme capital, soit le resurfaçage du pavé de la vieille 17 qui par conséquent augmentera ce budget de 175 000 à 230 000.
Secondaire. M. Simard. Questions, commentaires? M. Lalonde.
Avec cette injection d'argent-là, est-ce qu'on termine les travaux sur la vieille 17?
Ça, c'est un projet, je pense, ça fait 3 ans. Chaque année, on a fait un bout.
Moi, je veux juste en finir. Là.
Ouais. Puis même qu'on ait fini, j'ai déjà une petite section qui commence à être due. C'est du resurfaçage, hein? Alors il y a des camions lourds qui passent quand même. Mais au moins, ça va être fini.
Okay.
Ça donne quand même un bel accès le long de la rivière pour tout le monde. D'autres points, commentaires?
Non, je pense que c'est important parce que
faut le finir.
on peut rendre ça, que ce soit calme puis utilisable.
C'est beau. Tout le monde en faveur? Merci. 9.3. Politique stratégique de gestion des actifs. Monsieur Simard, s'il vous plaît.
Que le comité plénière recommande au Conseil municipal d'approuver la politique stratégique de gestion des actifs telle que présentée dans le rapport INF 2019-019.
Secondaire. Madame... des fois de la misère avec les noms. Madame Chouanière, désolé. Question, commentaire? C'est la loi qui nous l'exige. Fait que, Monsieur Bouchard.
Just in there, I'm reading there's also an asset management steering committee, which our directors are going to be sitting on. Do all of our directors have enough training in asset management, or is this something we need to look at as well? I mean, asset management I find is extremely important. It's with all of our projects. It's not just the province that's asking us to do it, but at the same time, it's just good for a municipality as far as management is concerned. So do all of our directors have that knowledge of what asset management is and what good asset management is? Or is this something we need to look at if we need to have more training? Or a consultant steering the steering committee? Not sure how that would work, but...
Madame Collier or Monsieur Lennart?
Yeah, so in terms of, we have our asset management group, who is really the experts in asset management at the city. They're part of the steering committee. But then all the other directors also. So directors have various different levels of expertise or knowledge in asset management. They're all knowledgeable to what's needed in their departments, but then some have a greater understanding in terms of its total impact. So for example, our treasurer knows a lot more about the finance and how that interconnects with the finance, and then because asset management is under our department, we have a greater understanding how that works in terms of operational and all of that. So following this approval of this policy, we're then going to form a, what you call a, sorry, I'm missing the word, no, not steering committee, it's asset management framework. Sorry, that's going to be brought forward to council. That's going to explain how we're going to take this policy and operationalize it. So you're going to really see how each pieces are going to use this policy in their day-to-day basis and how that affects their decision making. So through that, everybody is going to be knowledgeable and be able to incorporate that in their daily activities.
So my concern is I don't want to just have this just because it's policy that we have to have. I want to make sure that we're doing very well with it and that we have the knowledge that's being collected. And if we don't have the knowledge, well, let's have the training, make sure we get it so that this is efficient. So I'm satisfied with the
So we are, and then there's a whole bunch of different groups that through the province and different organizations that provide training, often free to the city, and we often sign up for that. But sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Okay.
Finish this one.
Yeah, and then also, where was I going with this? Yeah, so there's ongoing training, and then on top of that, in terms of what the recommendations are or the requirements are, this is just the first step, and then there's other requirements that are for I think it's 2021. We're already at that stage, so we're way ahead of the curve in terms of where we are with asset management.
Good. Madame Collier, voulez-vous rajouter quelque chose?
I just wanted to elaborate that prior to the previous election, Mr. Lenhart held the position of asset management, and I threw him out there to every bit of training under the sun. So he has got a lot of expertise in the area, and one of the original reasons I was hired at the city was to work on the asset management plan. So I have substantial amount of training myself in that area, so I feel confident that we have the training we need. I appreciate you offering training because it's very important, so if we see a need, we'll certainly take advantage of that.
Madame Chouanière, vous aviez
When we did the last time, like 2 years ago, when we applied for some grants, we needed the management plan.
Exactly.
There was no framework at that time? Because of the time span, we didn't have time to create a framework?
Yes, so the asset management framework that I was referring to is something that the municipality is going to put in place. in terms of how we use our asset management policy.
Okay, not the framework of what
No,
the government wants to see in the... Okay.
So they have their framework, but we'll have ours in terms of how we're going to use this policy on a day-to-day basis.
And how everybody is involved to fill it.
Who's affected to it, how does the operations key into that, into the decision making and everything. So,
OK, that makes sense.
C'est bon? D'autres points, c'est beau? Passe au vote. En faveur. Merci. Révision de la sécurité du chemin baseline. Non. Ah, pardon. Amendement à la stratégie de réhabilitation du chemin Lacroix. Ça, c'est à M. Levert. Allez-y.
Entendu que le budget d'immobilisation 2019 indiquait le financement d'un montant de 525 000 $ pour la pulvérisation et asphalter le chemin Lacroix cette année, et attendu qu'une étude géotechnique a confirmé qu'une section d'environ 400 mètres du chemin va nécessiter une reconstruction complète de la rue à un coût estimé de 390 000 $ qui nécessitera une augmentation du financement pour le projet, et attendu que le projet de réhabilitation du chemin Lacroix peut se faire en 2 phases sur une période de 2 ans, soit 2019 et 2020, et attendu qu'il sera nécessaire d'obtenir l'approbation du Conseil pour les travaux prévus à la phase 2 lors de délibération du budget d'immobilisation 2020, que le comité plénière recommande que le Conseil approuve que les travaux de construction pour la réhabilitation du chemin Lacroix soient faits en 2 phases, comme suit. Phase 1, pulvériser et asphalter le chemin Lacroix du chemin gagné d'environ 900 mètres dans la direction Est. Phase 2, reconstruction complète de 400 mètres de la section faible et pulvériser et asphalter la section restant de 110 mètres dans la direction Est jusqu'au chemin Guindon, à être considéré lors des délibérations budgétaires 2020.
Secondé.
Madame Chouanière, question?
Peut-être juste corriger, c'est 990 mètres.
Oui, c'était écrit, c'est juste une erreur de lecture.
Non, juste au cas où.
Oui, d'accord. C'est 990 ou 900. Question, commentaire? M. Simard?
On a fait une géotechnique au mois de novembre 2018, puis on a approuvé le budget en janvier. Pourquoi qu'on n'a pas eu tous ces détails-là pour le mois de janvier?
Donc, oui, effectivement, on a fait la géotechnique comme tel en chantier en novembre, mais pendant qu'on a eu le rapport, on avait déjà entamé les discussions budgétaires. Donc, on n'a pas eu la chance de vraiment tout analyser le contenu de ce rapport-là. C'était un rapport qui avait ciblé différentes régions, non juste cette rue-là. Par contre, quand on a fait approuver le projet, parce que ça, c'est juste pour rappeler le Conseil, c'est un projet qui était prévu pour 2020, donc on a différé un projet qui était la rue Laurier, puis on a devancé ce projet-là. On avait dit qu'il y avait une possibilité qu'il y allait avoir là, quelque chose de ce genre-là. Donc, on avait dit qu'une fois qu'on était plus au courant, qu'on avait une meilleure idée, on allait revenir avec un ajustement aux besoins. Puis c'est ce qu'on fait ce soir.
Okay. Monsieur Levert?
Est-ce que c'est, quand vous dites partir de Gagné jusqu'à l'Est, est-ce que c'est jusqu'à les Tulipes?
Donc, la partie des Tulipes jusqu'à Gagné, ça c'est des Contésinées. Ouais. Eux, ils allont faire ça.
Okay.
Nous, on va faire de cette intersection-là vers l'Est jusqu'à le... Butler, ou juste où on frappe la Terre Noire. Donc là, dans ce mandat-là, on va faire une géotechnique plus précise pour vraiment identifier jusqu'où on peut aller avec ce mandat.
Mais c'est ça, j'aimerais savoir exactement jusqu'où ça va.
C'est ce qu'on va pouvoir faire à travers du mandat. Là. Donc on va faire la géotechnique pour vraiment bien identifier par rapport à jusqu'où on peut aller avec le budget. Je pense que c'est pas mal qu'est-ce qui est expliqué, mais c'est surtout pour 2020, on va avoir une meilleure idée des coûts associés avec qu'est-ce qu'il y a à faire.
Je comprends comme de Butler jusqu'à Guindon, mais j'aimerais pas qu'on s'arrête au milieu du village.
On va aller le plus loin qu'on peut avant de frapper les...
Parce que là, si on fait le montant total, comme il dit, on pourrait avoir d'autres surprises. On a 525 plus 390 à être dépensés cette année et l'année prochaine pour faire ce tronçon.
Donc, cette année, dans le 525, qu'est-ce qui était prévu? Seulement 395 va être utilisé pour faire la partie qui est, on est certain qu'elle est en bonne condition.
D'accord.
Plus faire une étude plus localisée et faire des plans et concepts de vie pour pouvoir faire la partie qui va être à reconstruire.
Donc, il va y avoir un petit restant de cette année.
Il va y avoir 130 000 qui va rester.
Je comprends.
Si le Conseil le désire en 2020, Au 130 000, il va y avoir un ajout de 250 à peu près là, pour pouvoir terminer le projet dans son ensemble si le conseil désire de racheter ça.
Et vous dites qu'il y a une section, c'est les comtés, donc on va coordonner pour que, il y en ait un qui creuse puis l'autre qui...
Définitivement, ça a déjà été tout coordonné. C'est le même contrat d'ailleurs. Okay. Donc, ça va être déjà tout fait. On a aussi une partie de plus vieille qu'on change avant pour que les comtés, eux, puissent refaire leur asphalte. Et donc, c'est tout déjà coordonné avec eux.
Okay. Oui, M. Levert.
Est-ce possible d'avoir peut-être mercredi une rencontre avec quelqu'un pour venir m'indiquer où à peu près ça se situe, là, les 800 mètres, puis l'autre jusqu'à pas la fin de semaine, parce que vous avez fait de la géotechnique, que vous avez découvert quelque chose. Est-ce que je peux répondre aux résidents? Parce que les résidents vont me demander, il faut qu'ils fassent le test.
Pas trop, on peut.
Non, il a été fait le test.
Non, il va faire un autre test.
Non, mais où est-ce qu'ils ont découvert, là, ce qu'il y avait l'expert?
On peut en discuter à suivre, puis on peut se faire des...
Parfait, merci.
Super. D'autres points, commentaires? C'est beau. Passe au vote. En faveur? Merci. Révision de la sécurité du chemin baseline. Monsieur Simard. Non, c'est-tu?
C'est moi.
OK. Monsieur Lalonde.
Whereas the section of baseline road between 1063-1082 Baseline Road has been subjected to numerous accidents as a result of the posted speed limit and curvature of the roadway. And whereas HP Engineering has been retained to conduct a safety review of Baseline Road in order to identify roadway improvements to address the safety concerns, that the Committee of the Whole recommend that Council approve the proposed improvements contained in Section 5 of Report INF 2019-021 for implementation as soon as possible, and that the Committee of the Whole recommend that Council consider the adoption of bylaw to reduce the speed limit on a section of Baseline Road to 60 kilometers per hour from the Baseline Road and Saint-Jean-Filion intersection to then 40 kilometers an hour from 1052 to 1169 Baseline Road before resuming to 80 kilometers per hour.
Secondaire. Monsieur Bouchard. Commentaire, question, Monsieur Zan.
First off, thank you to your department for doing this. I know Mr. Lalonde's been asking as well as I have. I kind of still, you know, I get why we're doing what we're doing. It's the study that first recommended, but I still worry for this family. I'd be worried if I was on that corner, and I understand that we're going to do the 3 cable thing now. What is the difference between the 3 cables that the study is proposing versus a full-on guardrail?
So both are acceptable. The real difference is that the guardrails with the metal I-beam posts are a very, very solid wall that if something hits that, there is going to be some serious damage to that vehicle and possibly life-threatening accidents that could result from that. Whereas the cables, they're designed to attenuate the impact a bit more. So you typically wouldn't have the guardrails that you're asking about in a curve like this. You'd have something that's better so that it attenuates the speed. It doesn't completely stop the vehicle like a dead stop, but it prevents it from going a distance onto the property. Okay. So we feel that that one is better suited for that location.
Because we also want to make sure that the family's safe.
Yes.
Living there, right?
Yes.
So when you're saying, you know, it's just, I couldn't help but thinking when you're like, we don't want anything to happen to the driver. Well, we also don't want anything to happen to the resident. So
understood, but in terms of city, we do have liabilities in terms of what we're placing within our right-of-way.
All right.
And if we're placing something that could cause damage or harm to a driver, the city could be held liable for that. So we kind of have to weigh both of them together and which one's the better suited. And in this case, the three cable wire guardrails are.
And they're a standard height, correct?
Yeah.
There's you can't make them a little higher or whatever. They're just their standard height.
They're at the height that are designed for a vehicle.
Okay, perfect.
I'm sorry, I'm going to cut in there. If we install a full guardrail, think about Innis Road when you go east leaving Trim. There's a huge S-turn. It's all solid guardrail. If the person follows the speed limit and hits that guardrail at 40 km an hour, there's no danger of injury to them. Yeah. Our main concern, and in order, is the safety of our residents. If you're telling me that the 3 cable is a better stopping method than the full guardrail, I'd like to get the studies on that. if the person speeds, and I'm not saying that we don't make mistakes, but at one point you assume responsibility of that speeding. If you miss the curve, there's two things you want. You want to stop, because if you start climbing, you might hurt somebody. And the people in the house, I believe, deserve to be fully safe. If not, I would put anything on my yard to prevent a car from hitting. So I'm more, and I just want to add this, the 3 cables are going away. Like I see them on Regional Road 174. They used to have 3 cables. They're all replacing with full barriers. So I understand your concern that trying to slow the vehicle better, because we could be liable, but the minute we analyze that he's speeding, I mean, the liability is not ours.
So, and I understand that position. We could review the initial recommendation that we got from our engineer firm that looked at that, is also how that curve is positioned, the geometry of that based on how the road is. So in terms of a solid guardrail like we're talking about, there are different things that would be required, like attenuators. Then there's the entrance that poses a huge issue in terms of being able to install that type of guardrail, but still maintain an entrance for the house. Yeah. And then it's juggling all of that together where the recommendation felt that.
I'm just going to finish. If we find a Band-Aid solution and something happens further down, I'm going to feel really bad. If we have to straighten that road, reduce the curve, like we have rain problem, we have all sorts of problem on that road, on that specific area. So if we start by doing one thing right, which is protecting a resident, I don't know the difference of the cost, and I don't know how much we paid for the study, because it's pretty much what's almost installed there, except the 3 cable. I don't know how much we paid. Did we do it on our own?
No, we actually paid for the study. They came up with a good recommendation in terms of speed, so they didn't just analyze the speeding issue, reduce the speed. They analyzed the signage issue. They analyzed the curve. Okay. They analyzed a lot of conditions that their recommendations are. I mean, it's a simple recommendation, but it's a very effective recommendation. So.
I agree. Sorry.
Can I just continue on, and maybe no, it's fine. I like your point. We can also override this and change it and say, rather than the 3 cable, we would like a full guardrail.
Yeah, we just don't have the price.
Well, it's true, but why would a report come to us without any pricing?
There is pricing for this specific guardrail.
Right, but
for the full barrier, there's no pricing.
Well, because it wasn't recommended. So we recommended the guardrails with the 3 cable, and the pricing was associated with that.
Well, I would just like, maybe we can defer and come back at the next meeting with some pricing on a full guardrail.
I'll start by the end, Mr. Small.
Okay. With that guardrail, though, when you have the one with the I-beams and all that, you have, because of the design, some of them you have to be extended, like it could be even in the way of her laneway. So there could be an issue there also. So it depends on what the engineer designs for, because you need an extension to it. You can't just have it finishing like abruptly. So as a post. It has to have like a cushion and all that, so somebody runs it the other way. So we could be blocking the laneway. So that's all has to be designed and checked before we say that's what we want, and we don't want the cable one.
The time is of the essence here too.
Yeah, but she can't go in her laneway.
No, I understand that, but either way, there has to be a study done about the lane, whether it's cable or full-on guardrail.
Well, part of my question is that which was this point in the report, they all say like, so part of an issue is the laneway. Well, is there anything that can be done about, the positioning of the laneway? I mean, how far do their land actually go? Could they actually go up higher up the hill? I mean, are there options there? And the other thing I was going to say is to your proposal of deferring. If we defer right now, then it's not going to go till August.
Well, no, we can bring it back to regular next.
Mr. Landart, you had your
Yeah, well, it's just all I just wanted to add was that one of the considerations that our engineer firm looked at. So in the report, they didn't detail exactly what the difference is between the guardrails, but one of the reason why the recommendation with the 3 cable was just that, is that we can't end that abruptly. If we extend that into their driveway, then they don't have a driveway anymore. It becomes really complicated installing that in that location.
So that's why they went with the 3 cable option.
Yeah, part of their rationale was because of that. Yeah, not just because it's a stop for stop, but also because of the geometry of the. So there are. I mean, you mentioned realignment of the road, which I don't think that this is something in terms of time isn't feasible to address their concern at this time.
Madame Chouanière?
I think it's a combination of measures. If the speed is reduced, and then you have to keep
No one's going to do 40.
50, even if they go
It's
50.
still 40 right now. It's 60 that they're moving from 80 to 60. So now instead of going from 80 to 40, you're going to go from 60 to 40.
Okay, so people will go,
But it's still 40.
will go 60, yeah.
Écoutez, on a une proposition. Si on va la voter comme elle est là, s'il y a des gens qui veulent proposer d'autres choses, on aurait l'option d'avoir le prix pour une barricade complète. On ne l'a pas. Alors, est-ce que vous préférez qu'on vote là-dessus ou qu'on demande de différer et d'avoir un meilleur estimé? Mais de ce que M. Lennart nous dit, ça ne veut pas dire qu'elle va pouvoir garder son entrée de cours. Vous êtes ici en ce moment, madame?
Yes.
Si vous devez, oh, so sorry, I didn't know. I apologize. So they're saying that the full guardrail might create a situation where you would need to change the entrance of your laneway because of the bump. You know, when a hard.
I'm not an engineer. I can't personally see that because there's enough of a bend, I feel.
Okay.
Am I allowed to ask a question?
Absolutely. If you want to come up to the microphone. And for the minutes, please state your name quickly and your address.
Sherry Storson at 1082 Baseline Road, Clarence Creek. So you're talking about a guide rail with cables. I'm just wondering if there's studies done on what speed that will stop a vehicle, because the last vehicle actually took out a tree with a base of about a foot diameter and still was able to impact the house and move it about a foot. So I'm just wondering.
I don't know the exact speed, but I think that is a situation that, regardless of what you put in there, is a possibility of occurring. So depending on where that vehicle hits, even if it's a steel beam, if it's a steel beam, there are chances of it still speed going through. But it's something that we could look at. So So in terms of the issue with the radius is how that turns into your laneway. So it's not really the curve itself, but it's then for going from the curve to, that needs to enter into your laneway. And so the radius to be able to do that, the distance between the curve, that's the issue. But it's something that we could come up, if council desires, something that we can look into and come back with a design and demonstrate what can be done if that's the preferred solution. And if that's the case, then we'll come up with a design.
Monsieur Laval.
I think we've had all the recommendations that were asked. I think we should go ahead with the recommendation because I don't see waiting for a price for another thing. We can't put a price on the safety of our constituents. So I think if that's recommended and it's going to stop the traffic, why don't we go with that? I mean, we spend enough time and investment by our departments and that.
Madame Chouanière.
I also suspect that if the other option was also an option, they would have commented on it in the report. They would have mentioned that preferably this would be a better solution, but this would also be a proper solution. And since they didn't mention that.
We're assuming a lot of things.
Yes, so both were
correct.
Both were supported. So both are a good option. The difference is that in terms of the geography, you may have an issue with the other one to be able to physically fit it on that site. But we didn't go further in terms of evaluating exactly what that would look like because of that concern. So we've then opted for the second option, which was as good of an option in terms of reducing the speed and stopping the vehicle.
Yeah, but if they do mention that in the report, that if they mention it, it's because they must have assessed that possibility of what the consequences would be. They wouldn't just mention.
So in terms of assessment, all they did is look at the two of them. They looked at how would that fit on there at a very high level because we didn't give them the mandate to look at designing that. So they looked at it and they have concerns about being able to fit it on that site because of the way that curve is, the way the entrance is located along that curve, and the way that you'd have to build those radiuses to be safe. But that doesn't mean that the full analysis was done. Could that laneway be shifted a bit? Possibly. Maybe some other alternatives could be found. All we know is that at this time, that wasn't the recommendation in terms of what we're trying to achieve in a timely manner. So it doesn't mean it can't be done. It just means that we'd have to investigate it further.
Monsieur Lalonde.
I think I'm ready to vote on this, and if people vote against it, then he can come up with a plan.
Yeah, there's also maybe the option of deferring and getting a price for a full barrier.
Well, it's just because in 2 weeks, are you going to have time to go back to the engineering firm, redesign something, and get us a price? Because otherwise, as I think if it's Don that said, we're going to be in September before this thing gets done. So, because we're not, that's just my opinion.
If the resident is happy with 3 cables, then I'm happy with 3 cables. I think this is her house. It's not like it's affecting 15 houses, it's affecting 1. And I'd like to know what the resident, if she feels comfortable with this, then I will vote for it. If not, then I will defer, whatever she wants.
It's not. I don't think it's proper.
I want my family to be safe.
It's not proper to put that on you.
And I would like a more secure barrier than 3 cables. Just the fact that I've lived through this twice. But do I want something that's going to be there by June 14th, which is my move-in date, which is exactly 11 months to the day since I had to move out? Like, if you could put something there tomorrow.
Yeah. We're doing our best with the...
So, and I appreciate all the support that we're getting. So ideally, can we put up the 3 cables right away and then look at another thing? Probably not. I don't really know how to fairly answer that question.
I just didn't want to vote for something that you'd be totally...
No, and I totally...
But if the 3 cables is what seems to be consensus, then I will go with consensus.
Well, there's a reason why we have engineers and we have a department making recommendations. I think if Julien's team has looked it over and made the assessment that this is a viable option, I think we should.
OK. Alors, vous voulez aller au vote?
Oui.
OK, on va passer au vote. Ceux qui sont en faveur de la barricade à 3 quarts. Alors, c'est passé. It's going to be the 3 cable.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your patience. Sorry I spoke French at the start. So. 9.6, service de consultant pour 2019. Monsieur Zant.
Attendu que M. Darch a largement participé à l'avancement d'initiatives clés telles que le projet Canron, le POND, l'étude sur les redevances d'aménagement et les politiques départementales. Attendu que M. Kehoe a participé activement à l'avancement d'initiatives clés telles que les négociations contractuelles avec CEH, l'achat et la vente des propriétés de la ville et de divers dossiers de développement économique. Attendu que M. Lalonde a plus que de 30 ans d'expérience en gestion des opérations et a tant d'anciens directeurs des services de travaux publics de la ville de Gatineau, est particulièrement bien placé pour examiner et optimiser la structure et les processus opérationnels et de travaux publics. Attendu que le Conseil a approuvé un budget pour des services de consultation de 100 000 $ dans le rapport FIN 2019-14. Attendu que le budget salarial du département est en surplus de 30 000 en raison de postes vacants. Que le comité plénier recommande au Conseil d'approuver un budget pour services de consultation de 130 000 $. Que le comité plénier recommande au Conseil d'autoriser l'administration des vies de la politique d'approvisionnement en vigueur pour octroyer des contrats à source unique pour les services de consultants et en sous-traitance et que la directrice générale soit autorisée à signer ces contrats.
Secondaire. Monsieur Levert. Questions, commentaires. On va commencer à ma droite ce coup-ci, Monsieur Zant.
Vu que je sais pas, est-ce que je suis pas nécessairement, je pense que I almost feel like this is almost an HR thing that we're discussing in public because I know they're consultants, but 2 of them are also former employees. So, well, actually, 1 of them. Yeah.
Si vous voulez proposer l'avis à lui pour une discussion.
Est-ce qu'on a le droit parce que.
Oui, on est dépendant de qu'est-ce que vous voulez discuter.
Monsieur le Président.
Bien, moi, j'abonde dans ça. Si c'était des gens qu'on ne connaissait pas, bien, c'est des anciens employés, puis je pense que ça serait plus... puis on va revenir avec une directive très claire en avant des caméras aussi, mais je pense que c'est des situations où est-ce qu'on serait probablement mieux, si Mme la greffière est correcte avec ça, d'aller retourner à huis clos à la toute fin.
Je proposerais retourner à huis clos. On peut le faire tout de suite, ça va prendre peut-être 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Ouais.
Est-ce qu'il y aurait un secondaire pour aller à huis clos pour ce point-là, M. Lavert? Est-ce que... Oui, on va y aller tout de suite, ça va prendre 5 minutes. Tout le monde en faveur d'aller à huis clos pour ce point-là?
Oui.
Est-ce qu'on a besoin d'ouvrir un huis clos et de refermer? Ah,
On va pas fermer.
On va pas fermer encore. Merci.
C'est la même fois.
On ferme le huis clos et on continue, c'est ça? Alors, je vais demander quelqu'un pour fermer le huis clos, s'il vous plaît. Monsieur Zanck, secondé par Monsieur Cardarelli. Tout le monde en faveur de fermer le huis clos. Alors, il y a une résolution qui a été lue et je crois qu'il y a peut-être une modification à faire, Monsieur Zanck.
J'aimerais modifier de retirer le deuxième. Le deuxième quoi?
Le deuxième paragraphe de la résolution.
De la résolution.
OK. Ce qui va changer le montant aussi total des...
Oui, et de réduire par 30 000 $.
Le deuxième paragraphe, M. Zanck, c'est des attendus que.
Oui.
Oui, attendu que deuxième.
Mais dans votre résolution.
C'est-tu l'erreur complète, c'est ça?
Je peux le relire, Madame. Voilà.
Okay.
Oui, à relire ou.
Peut-être que vous voulez la relire de la façon dont vous voulez l'adopter.
Parfait. Attendu que M. Darch a largement participé à l'avancement d'initiatives clés, telles que le projet Caron Pond, l'étude de redevances d'aménagement et les politiques départementales, attendu que M. Lalonde a plus de 30 ans d'expérience en gestion des opérations en tant d'ancien directeur de services de travaux publics de la ville de Gatineau, est particulièrement bien placé pour examiner et optimiser la structure et les processus opérationnels des travaux publics, attendu que le Conseil a approuvé un budget pour des services de consultation de 100 000 $ dans le rapport FIN 2019-14, attendu que le... On enlève le 30 000, OK. Que le comité plénière recommande au Conseil d'approuver un budget pour des services de consultation de 100 000 $, que le comité plénière recommande que le Conseil autorise l'administration de vie de la politique d'approvisionnement en vigueur pour octroyer des contrats à source unique pour les services de consultants à sous-traitance et que la directrice générale soit autorisée à signer ces contrats.
Secondé par M. Bouchard. Questions, commentaires? Passe au vote, tout le monde qui sont en faveur. Merci.
Donc, adopté tel que modifié.
Oui, madame. C'est ça. 9.7, stationnement du parc des Champs. Monsieur Bouchard.
Que le comité plénière recommande au Conseil de transférer 36 762 $ de la réserve des chemins et 23 238 $ de la réserve d'équipement vers le projet du stationnement du parc des Champs pour établir un budget de 60 000 $ afin de procéder à la construction d'un stationnement le long de la rue Mercury afin de desservir les utilisateurs du parc des Champs.
Je peux seconder celle-là si c'est possible. C'est dans mon secteur aussi. Questions, commentaires? Monsieur Cardarelli.
Si tu ne fais pas, je seconde.
Ah, OK. Questions, commentaires? M. Simard.
Est-ce qu'on est obligé de prendre la réserve des chemins? Parce que c'est un parking, puis c'est
Monsieur Desnoyers.
un chemin.
Donc, c'est écrit dans la section financière du rapport que les réserves qui sont proposées ici, le Conseil a l'autorité de faire ce qu'ils veulent lorsque ça vient à utiliser les réserves, en autant qu'on ait le document de support, que ce soit un bylaw ou une résolution. Donc, vous pourriez changer la source de financement. On doit juste s'assurer qu'il y a assez de financement dans la source dont vous voulez utiliser.
Mais si on s'il n'y a pas de...
Donc,
s'il n'y a pas de problème.
Donc, essentiellement, ici, on avait recommandé équipement, étant donné que c'est la réserve qui nous reste le plus d'argent dedans. Mais évidemment que c'est peut-être pas nécessairement un équipement. Par contre, le Conseil a l'autorité de le faire.
OK. Merci.
D'autres questions?
Petit commentaire, juste dire que c'est une très, très belle initiative du service communautaire, considérant dans ce parc-là qui est rendu très problématique. Donc, j'aimerais remercier le directeur pour son rapport très complet et sur cette bonne conduite.
OK. On passe au vote, tous ceux qui sont en faveur. Merci. 9.8, rapport sur le statut du budget avril 2019. Madame Chouanière, s'il vous plaît.
C'est le rapport numéro FIN 2019-020, étant le rapport financier sur le budget opérationnel pour la période se terminant le 30 avril 2019, soit reçu à titre d'information.
Secondé. Monsieur Simard. Questions, commentaires? Passez au vote, tous ceux qui sont en faveur. Merci. 9.9, Service de la protection, rapport mensuel, avril 2019. Monsieur Simard.
Que le rapport numéro PRO 2019-014 au sujet de la statistique mensuelle soit reçu à titre d'information.
Secondaire. Monsieur Levert. Questions, commentaires? Oui, excuse.
It's okay. When we discussed the budget this year, one of the comments that came back was that council wanted to look into each department's budgets and try to figure out, what's the optimum service level. And so for training for protection services, I looked at the report, because you've been giving us reports the last maybe, year and a half of the number of training sessions, the hours and stuff. I think it would be in the city's best interest to find out what are other municipalities around us doing as a service level for training for their volunteer firefighters, because we're talking about basically about the volunteer crew. Because I've seen some months where you've had 15 training courses, other months nothing. Certain months had very low hours of training, others had a lot of hours. If we're comparing April to April from this year to last year, there's about 2,000 hours less this year currently than last year. So I'm looking at, we're always looking at optimizing our budgets and stuff, so I think it'd be nice to have a report in time for the next budget to get us a nice comparable to what other municipalities are doing, not only for the mandated training, the training that's obligated under the department itself, and other types of training that are not mandated. There's just professional development and stuff like that. The hours being, the amounts of sessions being offered by those municipalities. I'm thinking of Russell, I'm thinking of Hawkesbury, I'm thinking of Alfred-Plantagenet, Nation possibly. So just to give us an idea of, what are we over training our people and creating a situation where we are creating volunteer fatigue. Last year we had, I don't have the exact number, but it's around 7,000 hours of training for our volunteers. I think you can include some full-time guys in there, but that's just the training. So on top of that, you got all the calls and all that stuff. So, and we're having some difficulty sometimes in keeping our contingent of 74, 75. So I'm not sure what council thinks, but I think it would be nice to have that to compare with other departments.
My concern is more that it's always been my fear that we train our firefighters very well. They participate to a lot of training. We pay for it, but we don't get the return in the sense that they don't work at least a minimum of hours to cover for the expenses. So it's worth. And because often we train them and then they leave after they got all the training. Then they leave and they apply to bigger municipalities, and because they already have the training, it's an asset for them. So it would be good to see that, yes, we did train our staff, but it was worth it because everybody worked at least more than so many hours. So then it would give value, it would give some value to.
I'll just turn it over to Mr. Wilson, but welcome to the world of volunteering firefighters, where we qualify and they go, I guess. But I'll let you answer.
Training's always a challenge for sure. I can certainly work on bringing back a report, looking at our neighbors. I think the challenge is understanding too that there is a wide range even between fire services and internally in terms of how fire services view our neighbors, as well as how our neighbors perhaps view us, and in terms of what council's expectation is of our department as compared to what Alfred-Plantagenet's expectation of their department is, and so forth. So I think that there are some disparities. Our training hours, the way we do that, if we ran a 40-hour course this month and we had 10 participants in it, you would see that spike by 400 hours. Mm-hmm. So we did do a lot of first responder training last year to try and certify all of our firefighters to that level. So you're going to see a spike in the initial training hours required to get there across the board, times 70 members. Whereas now that everyone is certified to that level, the maintenance of that is far less demanding in terms of how we maintain those levels of training. So you will see some spikes and valleys in terms of the numbers of hours training. I can certainly work to put something together. In terms of the retention piece, it is always a risk. The good and the bad, I guess, is that to get hired into a full-time firefighting position, roughly 1% of applicants get hired. So I know there are people in our department that apply for full-time positions. They're not all leaving for full-time positions. The competition for those jobs is fierce. There's a lot of people competing for those jobs, and in a roundabout way, we then benefit from these people that are keen, that are interested, that want a good reference from us, and at the same time want to take training. So our municipality benefits in the meantime. We had a member recently leave, get hired into our larger neighbor to the west that was a member of this department for 10 years and had been applying for that department, for our neighboring department for 10 years. So, like I said, it took 10 years for that person to get hired, and we as a municipality benefited from that individual for 10 years. We do have a matrix in terms of how we approve training applications. So if you want to take a specialized course, one of the things that we look at is how many calls you've been attending or what your attendance is, so that we try and give some preference to those that are showing up. As opposed to the person that's just here to take training and never come to calls. So we do try and address that as best we can. Nothing's perfect, but at the end of the day, that's what we try and do, and make sure that it's impartial and fair in how we administer those policies.
I think too, it would be important to know of ours. How many do you currently have on staff? It's on 74?
I think we're at 72 or 73 currently.
So those 72, 73, when I discussed the mandatory stuff and the not going to say optional, but the other types of training, what's the attendance record for training? Are there guys that you see every 6 months? Are there guys that are there like every single training that they can? That type of information I think would be good to have on top of that.
So we do have policy, although it is very difficult to administer right now in terms of training percentages. So there is a requirement in our collective agreement with our volunteer firefighters that stipulated minimum attendance at both calls and training sessions. It's very difficult to administer because it's a manual process. So we have to go through almost each employee in each call record, which is incredibly onerous for my administrator to go through. We are working on creating a report that we can then just hit a button and export that data into something that is more usable. But that's something that's in the process right now. So we have not done a very diligent job in the last number of years of tracking attendance to both training and calls. But we are hoping to improve that so that we can, if there are those members that are falling behind, that we can sort of give them the encouragement to get their attendance back up and or address that attendance issue with that employee.
Because Madame Chouinard is right when she says that it takes I think it's 8,000 or 9,000, 10,000 to train a firefighter from scratch. So we want to have some type of return on our investment, and I get that it's still you're a volunteer. You show up when you can. Obviously people have families and other obligations, but I just want to make sure that we are not keeping people around just for the sake of keeping people around. Because the last thing we want is to go at budget and say, okay, well, we don't have enough people attending, so we need to bump up the 74 or 75 to 80 and 85 to compensate. Because then it means we have to train more people again.
So I hear your comments for sure, Councillor. I share those concerns. We still struggle with the reality that a huge percentage of our population as a whole, including our working population, all happen to work in the city. So we tend to lose the bulk of our volunteers by day, which leaves us really short. That will probably always be an issue unless we can start creating more jobs here that attract people out here. But I share those concerns, and certainly we're working our best to try and figure out the best solution for that, recognizing all of those factors that you mentioned. It's not an easy answer, but it's certainly something that's on my radar, and I'll work to bring you some more information and budget so you can consider it.
Just about.
In your report for the municipal enforcement, for 2019, you got 898 of complaints handled, and 18 you have 273. What's the difference?
To the councilor's question, I think part of this is tracking. So we hired a new an enforcement manager last year around this time frame. Prior to that, not necessarily the numbers were being tracked in the same fashion. So to be honest, without digging into the details of that, I wouldn't be able to tell you the exact disparity, but with our new manager that's been in place since May or so of last year, we've seen more consistent numbers come through. So you may see some deviation because of how numbers were tracked prior to that manager coming on board, and the manager that has now been here for about a year, just over a year.
Thank you.
Passe au vote, tout le monde en faveur? Merci. Faire un tour de table pour les autres items. On va commencer à ma droite avec Mme Chouanière. Avez-vous des points ou des questions directement? Monsieur Lalonde?
Oui, Monsieur le Maire, at one point, once we're done with the flooding situation and everything, I think we're going to have a post-mortem with council and the departments to figure out, because there are a couple of things that I think it's twice now that we've had to pump out water in front of the manoir, 2017 and now, and the reason seems to be that the drain that was installed in front of the manoir with the construction was too low, because otherwise it wouldn't flood if it was installed at a proper height. So did we miss something at construction that generates that, or is it just a circumstance of the flooding that for some reason backflowed into there that shouldn't have? I mean, if the building is not that old, so it should be the structure itself and whatever's around it should be at least 100-year flood level. Obviously it's not, because we've had to pump it out.
Je sais pas si vous pouvez répondre à cette question-là ce soir.
So those manholes are we call them water-tight sealed manholes. So water can't come through those manholes. So one of the reasons why that was pumped is because as the Ottawa River watershed is quite large along that ditch. Also, there's Chantal, it's all within that watershed. So by pumping, we were able to reduce the watershed, not just for some of our infrastructure, but for also some of the homeowners who had that pressure, the additional pressure, right? So it's all that combined. It's not really to deal with those manholes. Those are designed to be watertight sealed, so there's no water coming into those manholes. It's a common practice. You can't all raise infrastructure over the whole year leveling, but you could waterproof them to level.
So, I mean, I think at one point we're going to have to talk about, once you have all the finance stuff all figured out, so that's fine.
We'll
can wait for there.
Autre chose? Non. Monsieur Simard.
Oui, pour le chemin du lac, est-ce qu'on a une date pour la géotechnique et une date pour la pulvérisation de l'asphalte?
Oui, la géotechnique, c'est prévu pour juillet.
OK.
Puis pour la pulvérisation, c'est prévu plus autour de fin août, début septembre.
Bon, merci.
C'est bon, c'est tout. Monsieur Levert?
Oui, j'ai...
Ça qui est dit.
Il pensait qu'il y avait une autre résolution à lire, lui.
Comme vous voyez, on a les gens, les sinistrés ont commencé à enlever leur sac. Il y a une résidente du chemin voisine qui est venue me voir et elle dit qu'elle a plusieurs reprises elle a appelé la municipalité de savoir où les points sur voisine de mettre les sacs. Elle n'a pas eu de réponse, alors ils ont fait une réunion et ont décidé des points où mettre leurs sacs. C'est juste, elle voulait que j'avertisse le conseil. Je pense que ce serait peut-être bon de contacter les autres quartiers où il y avait des...
Comme le conseiller de ce quartier-là, on est complètement d'accord.
Dans d'autres quartiers, peut-être avertir, aller mettre les piquets où est-ce qu'on devrait mettre les sacs.
Juste pour vous dire, M. Levert, j'avais déjà été contacté, j'ai déjà communiqué avec M. Lenhart concernant les places à déposer, puis ça a été fait la semaine dernière. Alors peut-être que cette dame-là n'avait pas été avertie par le chef de la rue voisine.
Est-ce qu'on a mis ça sur notre site web, par exemple, les points de collection précis?
Non, c'était... It's a non-official drop-off spot.
Oui, donc ce qu'on va faire, c'est cette semaine, on va aller identifier vraiment ces endroits-là, parce que justement, oui, les gens qui peuvent commencer à enlever ces sacs-là. en chantier vont être marqués. Les gens, ça va être très clair. Puis on va aussi passer aux portes pour leur donner un avis, pour qu'ils puissent savoir s'ils veulent commencer à déménager, où est-ce qu'ils endroits.
Oui, parce qu'on est encore sur l'état d'urgence.
Parce qu'on est encore, puis on n'avait pas recommandé les enlever cette semaine.
OK. Alors, juste faire sûr que ça serait... Le site web, hein, c'est partagé avec le site que les résidents ont fait, le Flood Relief. C'est un excellent moyen.
Ça va être informé en chantier et aussi pour que les gens soient...
Mais comme dirait M. Zand, je ne voulais pas viser personne.
Monsieur Bouchard.
A question for Mr. Wilson. I had a good conversation with the resident today who was asking about the whole tornado warnings. Probably one of the most difficult natural disaster to call on people. So yesterday she says, well, we all got, the ring on the cell phone, which was good. With that being said, my 12-year-old daughter, what does she do? She runs outside. She wants to see what's going on. Other older people will say, oh, I gotta go home. I think I left that window open. No, you do not want to be on the roads. But part of our reflection was, we are in an area where we do have a lot of seniors or older people who not necessarily have a cell phone or have a cell phone but keep it turned off, just, make sure nothing happens into the house. Any thought, any idea, considering tornadoes are becoming more and more in this area, to have some sort of a analog system? Church bells, we have churches, have 1, 2, 3, all over there. Anything like that. I mean, if the questions was asked just exactly because of seniors not having cell phones.
Mr. Wilson.
Going up.
So there are a couple options. You can still purchase weather emergency alert radios. So if you want an analog system that's not reliant on cellular technology or anything else, you can still buy those old radios that you plug into a 120 thing, and it's quiet all the time until there's an emergency alert, and then it comes alive and starts squawking at you. We've got some downstairs that we keep in our offices in case we get a weather alert. So to, severe weather warnings and that kind of stuff. So it's quiet, sits there all the time, and then when there's a weather warning, it comes alive and squawks at you and scares the socks off you, but at the end of the day, it works. So there are some options. There's certainly options that council could choose to look at if you wanted. Lots of municipalities back in the Cold War era used like air raid sirens. They're expensive, they're not used every day, so it's an expensive option to look at. But there's other technology that council could look at. If
what do they do in Kansas?
Sirens.
Yeah, well, you can use air raid sirens again in the American tornado alley that sees tornadoes very, very frequently. It's quite common. In our region, although we sit in the tornado alley in Canada, we tend to not see them many times a year. So it tends to be a very expensive investiture for councils to look at. But like I say, emergency alert radios are an inexpensive solution for residents, particularly seniors who may not want to carry a smartphone that's WA enabled. So if they don't want to carry one of the modern smartphones, they can still carry a radio and be alerted to those things.
Okay, merci. Madame Collier, did you want to add something to that?
I did. As we evolve through this technological age, I realize, because every once in a while I say to my kids, oh, I heard this on the radio. What? They don't listen to the radio anymore. But I was in my car yesterday when the alert came out. I didn't have my phone on. I got it on the radio, and it was on the television, because when I called the mayor after. So for the seniors, my parents are a case in point, who watch TV for 98% of the time they're up. We're well aware we were having a tornado. So I think that the emergency alert system is not just a cell phone, right? It came out, it came on the radio and said, now we'll resume to your regular program. So I think we're probably not too bad.
As covered as we're going to be.
Nothing's perfect.
No, it's true. No, and for tornadoes, it's the toughest disaster to call it.
About air raid sirens in London, how they worked and they didn't work. Okay, so.
Madame Chouanière, vous voulez rajouter quelque chose?
Oui, je me demande s'il y a possibilité d'identifier des endroits où des personnes âgées vivent seules, complètement seules, qui n'ont pas de famille nécessairement autour, puis que quand il y a des urgences, qu'il y a un genre de système qui existe. Je sais qu'il y a des municipalités qui le font, qui identifient les endroits à risque, là, mais...
Il y en a une tornade, ça pique ou ça va...
Non, je comprends, mais je dis n'importe quel autre...
Good points. I've got one point for myself. Les fameuses lumières vertes sur la rue Laurier, c'est les poteaux verts qui sont coupés, qui ont des bornes, des cônes jaunes, qui sont toutes dépeinturées, que ça a l'air vraiment, ça fait vraiment dur. On en est rendu où avec ça, s'il vous plaît?
Avec ceux-là, on a toujours les commandes qui sont faites sur mesure, donc ça prend un peu de temps.
Oui, ceux qui sont dépeinturés. Est-ce qu'on pourrait au moins passer un rouleau, un coup de pinceau ou quelque chose, parce que ça ne rouille pas. Fait que si on les gratte un peu et on les repeinture, je sais que votre département est occupé, vraiment, c'est vraiment rendu...
On l'a essayé dans le passé. Ouais. C'était pas un vraiment bon résultat. Puis on est dans le processus avec l'interdiction de la laurier.
Moi, je sais, M. Lennard, faites juste, même s'il fallait le faire à toutes les années, qu'on mette un employé d'été ou quelque chose, ça prendrait 2 jours à coup de pinceau, puis je sais que ça serait pas une job parfaite, là. Mais si on le fait toutes les années, ils vont tout le temps être verts. Et ils vont peut-être chipper un peu, mais là, il y a des fois qu'on voit la moitié du lampadaire qui est complètement exposé au métal. On a des comptes sur d'autres lampadaires, je sais qu'on attend d'être remplacé, mais si vous prenez... Est-ce qu'on peut faire quelque chose, en fin de compte? C'est ce que je demande pour que ça ait l'air vraiment plus acceptable. S'il vous plaît, ce serait grandement apprécié. Un coup de pinceau tremplade. M. Wilson, peut-être, il est plus souris. Je sais que... Anyways.
Est-ce que je peux rajouter
oui, certainement.
Je vais vous envoyer tous un courriel. Si vous allez au centre Bergeron, M. Bergeron a installé 3 différents poteaux différents dans son stationnement qui sont LED, mais solaires aussi. Et c'est des poteaux extraordinaires, sont à peu près à 1500 à 2000 installés.
En plastique ou en métal?
En métal, et le top est en plastique, mais sont faits pour certaines choses. Alors, je vais vous envoyer le courriel parce que je trouve que ça serait quelque chose qu'on pourrait considérer, dépendant de quel point vous êtes rendu dans votre recherche. Mais si vous allez les voir au centre durant le soir, ils sont super beaux.
Au moins un coup de peinture, ça serait super apprécié. C'est tout. Est-ce qu'il y avait des derniers commentaires? Madame Ouellette?
Je voudrais juste vous demander, maire adjoint...
Qu'est-ce que j'ai fait? Qu'est-ce que j'ai fait?
Le conseiller Lalonde, tantôt, a demandé d'avoir un rapport comme avant le processus budgétaire par rapport aux heures de training. La directive n'est pas venue de votre siège, donc est-ce que c'est une directive que vous voulez donner du conseil pour que ça soit fait?
Oui. Okay. Merci.
Ça avait juste besoin de venir.
OK. C'est pas si pire, c'est juste ça. Il n'y a rien d'autre? Bon, ben, ajournement à 21h30, 21h25. Merci.